And welcome back, of course, here on this Good Day Tampa Bay. On this Sunday, of course, we're following a Tropical Storm Debby. Valerie and I are going to be here for the next few hours, just kind of walking you through what's going on. And right now, it's actually pretty quiet outside as the storm continues to slowly intensify. Winds this morning have been bumped up to about 50 miles per hour. Again, expected. This is expected to become at least a Category 1 hurricane on its path to the north, because as that track went west a little bit yesterday, it just allows for more time out over the water. And even though it's a large structure, it is still going to slowly gather its strength, gather its form, and at the end of the day, become a hurricane up in the Big Bend area. These some of the outer bands of this storm. When you get gusty winds, like, you'll get these big rain bands or these very gusty winds, it's typically going to happen like this. So around the Fort Myers area and Cape Coral, you get this big rush of rain and wind to just kind of roll through. It rains heavy for 10 or 15 minutes, and that's about it. And that's what we have first thing this morning. Now, the other aspect, of course, of a developing or a strengthening storm system like this is the potential for some severe weather and tornadoes. And I still think overall that would be mainly later today, and probably Central and Northern Florida have the best chance at that. Right around Venice, you got some rain coming in. Again, not a big deal, just quick little rain band moving to the north and west, just kind of wrapping around the center of this storm. And then right around Sarasota, we're close. Sarasota, some of that rain starting to work its way in from the southeast. And as the day moves along, you'll get more and more of this as it starts to kind of roll in from the southeast and move toward the north and the west. So overall, the storm itself with 50-mile-per-hour winds, moving north-northwest at 13. And I'm going to toss it to Val in just a second, because I think overall this storm and the computer models, once we got that low-level center, they did a great job of really just kind of forecasting where this storm is going to go. Yes, it stays offshore, but I want you to keep in mind something. Tropical storm force winds extend out somewhere in the neighborhood of 130, 140 miles. Believe it or not, from the center of this particular storm. We're on the eastern side, so that's why from I-75 west, which you're going to hear us talk about a lot over the next few hours, that's where we're going to get the heaviest of the impacts, some of the heavier rains and some of the stronger winds. Then as this storm moves out over southeastern Georgia, guess what happens? It stalls out, moves very, very slowly, and this will be a huge problem for the Carolinas if this happens, because then you're talking about way, way too much rain in general. So here's the big structure, the picture of the storm as it's continuing to strengthen. Again, large circulation, and that's working in our favor right now, because it's going to take a little bit longer for it to really ramp up. With that said, it's got record warm water all the way up to the Big Bend area, and therein lies the problem, especially in our northern counties, Valerie, because what happens now is that you've got that bigger storm surge in our northern counties. Excuse me. So let me toss it over to you. You can kind of give folks an idea of what's going to happen over the next 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah, David, we'll especially be watching our northern counties, Nature Copes up into the Big Bend for that storm surge. Once this center of circulation gets just north of us, that's when we get that really tough onshore flow. All of the rain and the rain bands that are on the southern and eastern side of this storm going to kind of wallop into the area. So that's when we start to see all of our intense storm surge. That's likely going to be later today into tomorrow morning. Here's a look at our enhanced satellite with this storm. As we were kind of talking about earlier in the show, really heavy on the east side, and we're on the dirty side of this storm. So even though it's a good chunk offshore, we are still going to get those outer rain bands that are starting to move through our area over the next couple of hours. And Dave was just talking about, we've seen a slight shift in our track and the general thinking of our models in really good alignment at this point, where that center of circulation was able to emerge off the coast of Cuba, now taking that further west track. And even in the latest computer model run, we're really looking at the western Big Bend to be most likely. So anywhere in line for those areas on high alert. We have seen those hurricane watches upgraded to hurricane warnings pretty much for the entire Big Bend coastline, even inland areas around Tallahassee now under those tropical advisories as well. A good chunk of the state seeing these through the area. So we expect most of our tropical-like impacts, they're going to be along and to the west of 75. Here's a look at where our flood advisories are in effect for today, and these travel inland. So we are expecting not just flooding to be a problem potentially for our coastal communities, but even as we head inland, one of the big things that we'll be watching with this storm, not just the potential for this storm surge, 2 to 4 feet for most of our area, 3 to 5 feet then just north of Tampa Bay, but it's these really intense rain bands that move through this afternoon, this evening, where we may be talking about rain over the same areas for extended periods of time. Because it's running parallel to the coast, we'll get what's called training, which is where the same areas get all of that heavy rain just continuing. So that is something we'll be closely watching, especially later this afternoon and tonight, once we really are in the thick of it here around the Bay Area. For today, a high of 86, tropical downpours, tropical storm force winds will be possible here around the Bay Area. We'll be talking about the potential for some flash flooding concerns. Even through tonight, on and off heavy rain and storms will continue. Temperatures down to the 70s tonight. We'll be watching closely for that high tide setup tomorrow. Looks like it actually will be in our favor a little bit more compared to when the storm surge and the circulation will move through this area. So high tide today just after 2 o'clock, tomorrow right around 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a look at your 7-day forecasts. We'll check in with you coming up in a bit.